Guys, my name is DanOvision. This is episode 7 of my personal video blog, and today I'm sporting the Superior Screenwriting Colony shirt. Basically, it's Lou Hunter based. If you don't know who Lou Hunter is, I suggest you look him up. Good thing to know, and he's also a really great guy. It's also worth going to the Screenwriting Colony if you ever decide to get into writing movies or TV series or whatever, because they'll teach you some stuff. Very educational. Anyhow, today we're going to talk about influences and heroes that I've had. People who have made me inspired to think and do the way that I do things. Number one will be Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson I liked because he was a classy individual. He was very educational. He always found a way to make people laugh without insulting people or belittling others and everything like that. And he was very good at doing it, and he very rarely ever used any sort of profanity on the stage. Closest thing I can really remember off the top of my head growing up would be the one time he asked David Letterman, "How pissed off are you?" That's about the closest thing I've ever heard from him. Johnny Carson was classy. He was a gentleman. He was very nice, very clear to understand, always was great at delivering his lines. And in a conversation, that means a lot, because people hear you clearly, and they're willing to listen to you when you slow down and pronounce your words rather than speaking too quickly. Okay, the next person would be Dean Martin. Dean Martin didn't give a damn, but he was still a classy person. He basically falls in the line with Johnny Carson as far as I care, and he's a little bit of an asshole, but he's a charming asshole, and I personally believe that if he can get away with being a charming asshole, you're great. Speaking of charming assholes, let's talk about Don Rickles. Don Rickles was one of the few human beings on this planet who understood the art of being an asshole. He could push your buttons and push you and push you and push you right to the edge, but never go over that edge. And what I mean by that is the edge is the point where you want to get up and pop him. You know, you just want to give him a knock in the head for pissing you off. But he'd always find a way to push you right to that limit, without insulting you to the point where you felt insulted. You let it go. And that was an art. That was an art. Professional asshole is what Don Rickles was. So I got respect for him because he could tell people anything he thought and how he truthfully felt, and he could get away with it. And that is magical, when you can get away with doing that and not offending people. And I like to see myself as a person who tries to do that, because yes, I'll get your attention, I'll make you hate me for the first 5 minutes of any video that I'll record. If you can get past the first 5 minutes, you might learn something. And moving on, George Carlin. George Carlin was crass, he was brash, a very vulgar person, but he was the thinking man's comedian. He always made you think when he talked, because if you could get past all his crudeness and his lack of religious beliefs, if that's what offends you, if you can get past all the stuff that offended you about him, you would come to learn that everything he said had a point, and it was something that was relatable, something we've all gone through. And he was one of the few comedians out there who didn't mind going up to the heads of the country, the government, and all that, and basically bash them in their face and tell them, you don't have a freaking clue how this country's ran. You don't have any idea, about the small guys, people living out in the slums and the ghetto and the projects. You don't know what that's all about. You only know what's on paper. You only know what you've been told. You haven't seen it and you haven't experienced it. How dare you? And you know what? I got respect for a guy who can do that. He never let his roots get away from him as he got up and became famous. And you know what? That man deserves infinite respect. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, he was lewd. He did a lot of things that would shock people, even make them gasp and call him a blasphemous heathen. And you know what? He didn't care. And you know what? You can't please everybody. Okay, so sometimes you just gotta not care in order to deliver a point. Because if you let everybody's opinions affect you, how are you ever going to get anywhere in life? Okay, moving on. Hulk Hogan. Terry was a great guy. I met him when I was a kid. I didn't get his autograph. I really should have, but I was starstruck. I had to pick his brain. I learned a lot about him. And, great person. I would definitely love to meet Terry again. Arnold Schwarzenegger was another influence of mine. And Arnold, the reason why Arnold inspired me is, one, he just made a good badass on screen. You know, ever since I saw him with Conan, you know, and all that. Hercules in New York we won't talk about. That was an experiment, and it was a failed experiment. Pumping Iron was what, you know, his first major debut was. He's a big guy. He's a genuinely big guy. But when he got on film, started doing movies like, you know, Predator and stuff like that, he never overlooked the little guy. He always respected them, and he always, you know, called them over. Hey, come take a seat with me. Take a puff of stogie or something, you know. That's cool, you know. Get over here. Come take a seat with me. What's your name? Your name's John? That's wonderful, John. It's a pleasure to meet you and work on stage with you. What are you, key grip? You know, he was a great guy. Arnold is a cool person. Yeah, he may have done a couple things, you know, but we're human. We make mistakes. You know what? The media is always going to be out to villainize you, and you're big. The bigger you are, the harder they want you to fall. So, whatever. You know, another good person that I would have to say definitely influenced my life is my mom. My mom is a very hard-working individual, and you know, she works 8 jobs currently, and as long as I've known her my entire life, she's never had less than 2 jobs, and they were usually either full-time or very heavily into, you know, part-time. And yeah, my mom does feel bad that, you know, she wasn't always there for me, but you know, she gave me something to look at, you know. She let me realize, you know, that hard work means something. You know, yes, there are things you want to do, there's things you have to do, but in order to get by in life, you have to bust your ass. You know, there's no easy way, there's no easy street. You know, people are not going to just hand you a job and hand you big paychecks and you're going to live easy and fine. She taught me the realities of life. You know, that nothing's going to just come to you. And, you know, she always cared for me. Everything she did for me. And, you know, sometimes she did for herself, but I admire her, I respect her, and I love her. And even when she confessed some things that most people would probably disown their parents for, I just told her, hey, you do what you gotta do to survive. And I don't think anything less of her for it. You know, she beats herself up to this day, and I tell her, stop living in the past. It's not about the past, it's about what you do now. I ask you for 1 hour a week, that's all I ask. If you can manage that, you're fine in my book. My mom has also never been afraid to speak in her opinion. And being strong-minded and opinionated that she is, and also a good soul who's always wanting to help, it gets her in trouble. And you know what? Fine. Fine be if it gets her in trouble. I'm sorry if you people are so sensitive that you can't deal with, you know, my mom telling you how she feels, but she would only speak her mind if she felt that it would help. And that's a person that matters, is a person who's willing to speak up and say something like, this is not right, somebody should do something. Somebody should do something. And she's the person to do that. And you know, my mom claims that she's not very smart, but you know what? She's always found a way to survive. When things got shitty and they got worse and they got worse and they got worse, she would always find a way to make it better. You know, to make it to where, you know, we could survive, get by on our means, and we'd bounce back, you know, stronger than ever. Nothing would get to us. So, my mom has basically taught me how to be strong. You know, she didn't coddle me or hold my hand. Yeah, she gave me a room to stay until I became an overgrown man-child to a degree. And, you know, she could have kicked me out of my ass anytime she pleased, but she didn't. And I respect her and I thank her for that, and probably more than I'll ever be able to pay her back for. She's a great person. I cannot say enough about how awesome my mom is. And if anybody has ever, you know, thought ill of their mom, I'm sorry that you don't feel that way about yours. But my mom proves that a woman can work harder than a man if she really applies herself. And that, you know, she's one of the toughest people I know. You can't be as tough as my mom. I mean, I've met guys, you know, who are big and macho and badass, and, you know, give them 1 week in my mom's shoes doing what she does. I tried to follow my mom's footsteps for 1 week, and even in my prime when I had enough energy and I was just a spaz, I just could not keep up with her. She was just, it's just a routine for her. It's do, you know, and what she has done and how many conflicts she's mediated, how much shit she's gotten me out of, and how many times she has defended me and stood my side because she knows what I said was right, and that, you know, that I basically meant well. I got support for her. And another thing, Mom, if you're watching this, you're one of the only few people who actually listen to me. And that means more to me than anything. You know, you'll sit down, you'll talk to me, you'll relate with me. You won't try to, you know, change my views or, you know, anything like that. You know, you're very accepting, you're open-minded. And in a world where everybody's a closed-minded or bigoted, you know, person where all that matters is what they think, open-mindedness really helps. And, you know, you help open my mind, you know, to some things that I would have normally been, you know, narrow-minded on myself. So, here's to you, Mom. My most powerful hero and my most awesome influence. God bless you.